Roy Keane yesterday was particularly forceful about Bruno Fernandes in the way that he tends to be. What is your assessment of Bruno's as your captain and the impact he's having on your team at the moment?
We'll get back to Ruben Amorim in just a quick second, but remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. And also don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And as ever, if there's something bubbling up inside of you that you need to express, please put it in the comments. The comment section is for you. The Big D reads all of the comments and he's always keen to read what's on your mind. Now, in this clip, it's actually the pre-match press conference for Manchester United and Ruben Amorim before their big FA Cup tie at the weekend. And it's the first opportunity that Ruben has had to respond to Roy Keane's scathing assessment of Bruno Fernandes. And he's also going to be talking about Onana, Garnacho, and a few other little interesting tidbits. But stick around for after the clip, because the Big D is going to be giving his assessment of what's being said by Ruben Amorim. Here he
How
is.
important is this competition to Manchester United, and will you have any players back for the game?
No, I think no one different is back. They are still trying to recover to help us in the next games. It's really important for us, but nowadays everything is important. The last win, just the feeling of win. The way we work in the next days is completely different. So we want to go to the next stage, and we want to have two wins in a row, especially at home, and we need that feeling.
We spoke briefly the other night about Alejandro Garnacho. I was just wondering if you could clear up the situation there.
Yeah, he came to me. Was funny because in the next day he came to me to my office. I did some investigation, and he went to the dressing room, changed his clothes because he was wet. He watched the game not in the bench. We watched the game. In the end of the game, he was there, and he went home. So there's not a issue there. But I told them that in Manchester United everything is important, and perception in a big club is really important. So he's going to pay a dinner to all the team, and that's it.
Roy Keane yesterday was particularly forceful about Bruno Fernandes in the way that he tends to be. What is your assessment of Bruno's as your captain and the impact he's having on your team at the moment?
Yeah, I heard about that. I have a different opinion. Bruno is really important for us in the club, special for me. He's playing well in the difficult context. He wants always the responsibility. I know that sometimes as a captain he do things like with his arms, and sometimes you see it in criticizing the teammates. I think it's most of all is a lot of frustration for this year and the last year and the others. He wants to win, and sometimes it's really hard to deal with that frustration. But like I said, everybody has an opinion. Roy Keane has big standards from him in his time, and it's normal to have an opinion. I have an opposite opinion, and I think it's more important, my opinion, than Roy Keane, because I'm the coach, and I think he's doing things quite well.
Ruben, it's been quite a difficult time on and off the pitch for United, and I can imagine super challenging for you to manage through. You've spoken about surviving the storm, getting to the summer. I want to know, has there been any discussions around recruitment, any guarantees for what you will get in building the squad in your image, given the financial constraints?
No, guarantees we don't have. You know the situation of the club. We need to make some deals for make some deals. We know the situation, but of course we are trying to project the next season. We have to do it as a big club, and we are changing a lot of things in our squad, in the academy. We are working on everything for the future of the club. So guarantees I cannot give you. The board cannot it's clear the situation. We have to deal with that, but we are preparing the next season for sure.
Then how important is it that Dorgu receives support? Only a young player, difficult week. There'll be lots of criticism and noise, as there always is with United, but people need to remember that he's only 20, came into a difficult circumstance mid-season.
It's part of it's like business as usual. Like no big deal. Of course, you don't want to send off because it's really hard to play with 10 men. Then we lose the player for 3 games. Of course, there is a lot of noise. This is like I said before. It's Manchester United. Everything is a big issue. But for me, it's a normal thing. Try to explain the situation. You already know. You go inside the dressing room. Is really like. He's talking with me without talking, so I don't need to say anything. He's frustrated and he's sad, but he's working and preparing the next games. And we have so many games. We have then in Thursday another game, so we'll be ready for that games, and we wait for him because he's going to be a very important player for us.
Just on the team news and the goalkeeping situation, where no players have come back. Will Andre continue to start this weekend? And do you feel as though he's suffered not having Altay there to compete with him, maybe because he possibly would have played against Leicester?
No, it's. I think he passed this in the last year. I don't know for sure. There's some difficult moments, but this season he did some great saves that save our team, and then sometimes have some problems, but that is normal. And I think if you look for our team, you can find a lot of players with that issue. So I think we are not performing so well as a team. And sometimes some players have problems. In the second, people talk about a lot of the second goal. I think from Ipswich, he's waiting for the touch of the lap. I think that is really clear, and then the ball continues to the goal. So that can happen. We just have to support Andre like we support all the players and prepare the next game. Forget about the past and prepare the future.
Chris.
Hi Ruben. Earlier this week Erik Ten Hag spoke about the modern day player being quite soft in some ways. Do you think, even though he's spoken to you about what happened on Wednesday, that Alejandro was a kind of example of that, and do you think maybe he didn't see the bigger picture for the team and why he was being taken off?
He's a young kid that will learn. The important thing is that in the next morning he was speaking with me. I think we need to see that small things, that walking out to the pitch, because Xerxes did the same thing. And the context was different, but was the same thing. So we have to understand the situation, the context, the age of the players. Of course, they have to be better. They have to understand that perception here is really important. But like I said, you can deal with that in the next day and move on. So let's just move on.
Just following on from that, Ruben, the players, modern day players now, have to be able to handle criticism better, and have a kind of, you say, a thicker skin, a tougher skin, particularly at Manchester United, because the focus is so great.
I think it's completely different for the players nowadays. Before it was just two newspapers and nothing more. With social media, completely different. They are so focused in social media. You cannot go to social media without seeing a news or a photo, or if you read something bad, you focus on that. You can have like 100 good things, but then one bad thing, you focus on the bad things. So I think it's really hard for them. You can call it soft, but they have like that access to criticism, what people think, that is really hard to deal with that, and they need help to deal with that. So it's the modern football, and they have to be prepared for that.
Last question in this section, Paul.
Sorry, Garnacho again. Just to clarify, will he be available for this weekend?
Yes, he has a knock. When he went to shoot, one was blocked almost inside of the box. He has a knock. I expect for him to be ready, but we'll see. I have to wait until tomorrow.
Just in terms of that chat that you had with him about perception, do you get the impression that he fully understood what that means, and he sort of buys into all that now?
I think he understands, but like I said, they read everything, all the small things, and then I know the players quite well. I played for quite a while, and I understand they are frustrated. He was playing well, and he has to go off in that moment of the game. So it's hard to deal with everything, but they have to deal with everything. So I'm just trying to help them to be a better football players. They understand the modern football.
You know, I've watched Roy Keane's scathing assessment of Bruno Fernandes a few times now, and the more I watch it and the more I think about it, the more I feel as though Roy Keane is completely wrong and completely out of order. And it's no wonder that he didn't make it as a manager, because he seems to be the kind of guy that's just too honest. But not only that, but he's too kind of harsh with his assessments as well. And it's almost like he expects everyone to play like him. But not everyone's like Roy Keane. Other people have different personalities, and other people have different skill sets. And, you know, other people react to certain things in different ways. So Bruno Fernandes, for instance, if he gets a little bit frustrated, you know, he throws his arms up and, you know, has a little bit of a moan. But when Roy Keane gets a little bit frustrated, what does he do? He goes flying in, studs up against Alfie Haaland. You know? So, you know, which is worse? But yeah, to say that Bruno Fernandes was as bad as what Roy Keane was making out, it's the absolute opposite of what Bruno Fernandes is. And good for Ruben Amorim to stick up for him in the manner that he did. Ruben Amorim, he was very polite and very articulate and showed a bit of class there. He didn't necessarily, castigate Roy Keane or, you know, pick a fight with Roy Keane. You know, he said, you know, very succinctly that, you know, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but the only person's opinion that matters is his, because he's the coach and he's the one that picks the team. And yeah, Bruno Fernandes is vital for Manchester United. Everything revolves around him. And I mean, in that clip, Roy Keane was talking about, you know, taking responsibility and etc., etc., etc. Bruno Fernandes is the main person in that team who is taking as much responsibility on his shoulders as he can. I mean, everyone loved Steven Gerrard when he did it for Liverpool back in the day. Everyone loved it when Roy Keane did it against Juventus when he got suspended in the European Cup semi-final in 1999. So, and well, the only difference between them and Bruno Fernandes is that those guys were in winning teams. Because Liverpool were actually quite good when Steven Gerrard was in his prime, and they might have won a league had Man United not been so good at the time. But Bruno Fernandes is being forced to perform miracles, basically, in a team that's just short of any kind of confidence. And any time that they get a little bit of momentum going, then, you know, something happens and then they're back to square one almost. And then people like Roy Keane are jumping on the bandwagon. And I don't know, I've always felt as though that, you know, some of these ex-United pros are part of the problem, really. Because whenever a player has a little bit of a run of bad form, you know, they jump on them. I remember when Louis van Gaal was slogging his guts out to try and get a result out of the team. You know, these guys were the first people, like, the United pundits were the first people to sort of start picking on all the players. And it was quite a young team as well. I mean, we had Memphis Depay and Jesse Lingard and Paul Pogba and those guys. I mean, I know Paul Pogba didn't play under Louis van Gaal, but, you know, roughly around that era. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, Lingard and Pogba and some of those guys didn't do themselves any favours at times with, you know, the dancing in the changing rooms and whatnot. But you don't hear any stories like that with Bruno Fernandes. You don't see him swanning off to America. You don't, you know, hear about him dancing around in the changing rooms or anything like that, or you know, informing his PR team to do X, Y, and Z. You know, the only time you hear about Bruno Fernandes is when he's on the pitch or in the post or pre-match interview or something like that, you know? So, I think Roy Keane needs to cut him a little bit of slack. He's entitled to his opinion, but it doesn't necessarily mean that his opinion's right. And I think there's other people in the team who deserve a little bit more criticism than Bruno Fernandes. You know, to be fair, we've got rid of the major culprit for the time being anyway. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with Roy Keane at times. I don't know what it is. It's almost like he's kicking a man while he's down. You know, he did the same with David De Gea, which was atrocious. And I've said this before in other videos, like the way he used to criticise David De Gea in a similar vein to how he criticised Bruno Fernandes was, you know, you would think David De Gea was a championship level player or something like that. No disrespect to championship players, but no, there's just times when Roy Keane's just a little bit out of order. You know, I mean, he's entertaining to watch, but nah, sorry, Roy. Garnacho, yeah, it's good that Garnacho went and apologised straight away, or he went to sort it out straight away, because it's interesting what Ruben Amorim said there. He says when you're at a big club, especially Manchester United, which is the biggest club in England and arguably the biggest club in the world, that the dreaded Man United microscope, which is what the Big D calls it, always zeroes in on anything it can get its beady eye on. So he can, you know, fill a back page, or he can get some X likes or some views on YouTube or whatever, you know. But yeah, I like the fact that Garnacho has done that, because that shows that his attitude has dramatically improved there. So fair play to him. Fair play to him. And in terms of players being too soft, I think a big part of why players are a little bit soft, apart from the sort of cultural difference between now and, say, Roy Keane's era, is players get scouted from a very young age, so they get sheltered and wrapped in cotton wool from a very, very young age. So, and all through their time at a club, say, it doesn't matter what club, it's a professional club, because the professional club's a professional club to working class folk. So footballers tend to get revered. So they very rarely get much criticism until they reach a certain level. And then that's when all the criticism comes. So, and especially if you're getting criticised from your manager, but unfortunately no one's teaching some of these young footballers that the criticism, it's not personal. It's about getting the best out of you and making sure that you are learning your craft properly, so that you can be the best player that you can possibly be. Because, I mean, players like Jadon Sancho and Marcus Rashford, for instance, they should be a lot better than what they've shown. They should be. But unfortunately, they're not. But yeah, it was an interesting one, that from Ruben Amorim. He needs a win at the weekend, as always. To keep this momentum going and to roll into next week. We've got a couple of big games coming up against Sociedad and the Arsenal, so we need to get a little bit of confidence back, and so we can put up a good show against those guys. But we shall wait and see. But what do you guys think? Are you happy with Ruben Amorim's retort to our illustrious former captain and the greatest Premier League player of all time, Roy Keane? Thoughts in the comments, as always, and the Big D will see you in the next one.